You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome, folks. I'm Jamie Migdal, and this is episode 18 of Pets Mean Business. 18 awesome episodes of amazing people doing amazing things. And that is why we're doing this podcast. So the whole point of this show, and I've said this many times, but I want to say it again because I think it just continues to be relevant. The whole point of the show is that this pet industry is huge and it's growing, and everyone knows that. It's grown 300% over the last decade and continues to show massive, massive promise. It's at $60 billion at this point. Now, that number is huge, and some people have a hard time wrapping their brain around it. I even do, and I've been watching it grow for a long time. But the point of the matter is that behind that $60 million number, there are so many people doing amazing things to follow their dreams and their passion, whether it's innovation on the product side, or whether it's putting together an animal rescue organization, or building their first or second or third doggy daycare facility. Whatever these things are that are happening, they're done by people just like you and me who reach deep down inside and pull out the best that they have to offer the world and the people and the pets that they live with. This is really what the pet industry is about. We see, I think from the consumer side, we see toys and we see food and we see, we go to the veterinarian and we go to the groomer, we do all of these things. But what we're not thinking about is that behind all of those things are people. They're people who love pets and who have a desire to grow and to grow with this wonderful, wonderful industry that I've been really fortunate to be in for 20 years. And many of the people that we have on the show have also been in the industry for a very long time. In fact, my guest today is exactly that person who's been has been doing amazing things in the pet industry. And I can't wait for you guys to meet her and have the conversation. And I think just through talking with her name is Susan, by the way, talking with Susan, you'll see what that means, because I think that my guest today totally embodies this idea of innovating and passion and all of the things that the pet industry has really just built itself upon. So this podcast, this show is really for you, the person listening right now, who is either someone who is thinking about innovating or doing something interesting or taking a chance in the pet industry, or really any industry for that matter, because it really just comes down to the entrepreneurial spirit. And the entrepreneurial spirit is what we try to talk about here at Pets Mean Business. And this show is just a delight, and it's an honor to be able to have conversations that we have and with the people we have them with. And today is no different. So I'm going to take a break. And when I come back, we're going to introduce you to Susan Briggs, who is someone who I've known for a long time and I've been looking up to her for years. And once we talk and hear her story, you'll understand why. In the meantime, if you would like to get a hold of me for any reason at all, you can always reach me at jamie@petliferadio.com, or you can come visit us on Facebook or Twitter, or you can go to my website, which is jamiemigdal.com, whatever you need. The whole point is that this show is for you. It's 100% designed around you, what you need, what you want, what you're thinking, what you're doing, all that stuff. I've had incredible fortune to be able to connect people through this show, connect them to resources, connect them to other people, connect them to ideas, whatever you need. Please let me know. My whole thing about this industry is I want to see people do what I've been able to do, which is to find a place that just helps them grow as a person, socially, professionally, financially, and just be able to have the life that you always dream of. And I do think the pet industry does avail itself to being able to do all of those things. So on that note, I'm going to go to break real quick. When we come back, we'll be with the wonderful, beautiful, talented, lovely Susan Briggs. We'll be right back.
People say less is more. At Red Barn, we think less is better. It's what you won't find that sets our natural premium pet food apart. No byproducts, no corn or soy, no fillers. Just the natural ingredients your pets need to live the healthy life they deserve. Look at the label. We want you to. Red Barn Naturals Pet Food. Simply the best. Find it in your local pet specialty store. Try our grain-free rolled food. It's protein-packed with less risk of food sensitivity.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Hey guys, we're back from break. I gave you a big teaser that you're going to meet somebody who I love Did I say that I love you? I think I did. If I didn't, I'm saying it now. So listen, we are really honored on our 18th show today to have Susan Briggs with us today. She is the founder of Crystal Canine and so many more things. Crystal Canine is just the beginning of the things that she's done. She has a couple of different websites and a couple of different projects and things that she works on all the time. I will let Susan talk to you about those things, but I really just want to do a quick, if I may, Susan, a quick bio, and then I'll let you go and get deeper into all of these things and how they came together. So after 12 years of owning and operating a really big daycare, boarding, grooming, training center in Houston called Urban Tales, she started to transition, which is really what the industry is doing in general, specifically to off-leash dog play. And what that means is when you have dogs off-leash, they behave in a very different way than they do when they're on-leash or when they're caged. So what she saw that there was a big need for other business owners to understand what she was learning in her business. And so she started helping fellow small business owners understand how to transition their facilities to off-leash play versus having dogs in cages all day. And so then her role as a consultant and an author and a speaker, that started to develop. And all of a sudden there were all of these opportunities for her to continue learning and contributing to all of the way that the dog daycares have started to do safe dog play. And she's been behind a lot of that messaging and a lot of the way that we as an industry have moved towards being more thoughtful around how dogs play. And so now she is for sure, and I can tell you this because I've seen her speak for years at conferences around the country. She's a recognized leader in the dog daycare industry. And really her goal, along with her partner's goal, her partner Robin Bennett and her business, is to make off-leash play, all of the off-leash play that we know is happening in dog daycares around the country, safer. And, at the end of the day, we're all in it for the pets, and we're all in it for the dogs, and we're all in it for the love and the safety, and we're all in it for public safety as well. And I think that, Susan, you have really taken that and just you've skyrocketed that. So let's talk. First of all, welcome to Pets Mean Business. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great.
Good. I'm so glad that you're here. Thanks for taking the time and talking with me and being a part of this whole thing. I think what you're going to talk about today is going to resonate with everybody pretty loudly. Even if people don't use dog daycare, it's still what you're doing. Like I said, I think it impacts, at the end of the day, I think what you're doing impacts public safety, which is the loftiest thing we can do as pet professionals. So what's going on? Tell me how you got from what you have an educational background in accounting. Am I correct?
Yes, I was a bean counter for many years. I have a master's of accounting. That's how much of a little bean counter I was. But it's interesting working in that field. I learned a lot. I think it really helped me. In hindsight, when you look back at your career, you can see how all the pieces fit together and are perfect for where you are today. And I feel very fortunate that, that background as a bean counter and getting in, working in auditing really helped me see processes and operations from a different perspective. And I think that's helped me in the pet industry.
So that's interesting because I think that also is happening as the pet industry matures and we start attracting different talent into the industry to do all different things. I think what you're saying here, I've been seeing it a lot, which is people are taking their background in a completely unrelated industry, in your case it's accounting, and applying some of those principles and some of those theories to the pet industry. I think that is actually, and maybe, I don't know if you agree with this, but I think that's actually what has increased. I think that's what's actually ultimately creating the success in the pet industry is folks like yourself who are coming in with a completely different mindset. It's not just a dog mindset, but it's a business mindset. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Absolutely. I think we definitely learn from other industries and bringing our backgrounds, because the dog business for a long time was more related, to the breeding and hobby and family owned. And so people coming like me from corporate America have different experiences and apply them, whether that's accounting, marketing, we stop and say, why are you doing it this way? Wouldn't it be better to do it this way? And a big part, when I opened Urban Tales, we were one of the first pet centers that we opened up doing cage-free sleepovers. So we weren't even putting dogs and had any enclosures to board dogs. So you just ask the question from a different perspective, and I think that does help with the innovation.
So when you decided to leave corporate America and and open up a dog daycare, tell me about that first conversation you had with either, a family member or a close friend. How was that for you?
Well, people thought I was crazy to leave behind my CPA certification. I let that lapse, but I knew that was not what was making me happy. I had a smooth collie. Her name's Hallie, and
shout out to the collies.
I know we love the collies.
Do love the collies.
I wanted to take her to work with me. That was my real passion. And in fact, at the time that I really made the decision to look at this and do the business plan and make it a reality, I was on my second acquisition and being my company that I worked for being bought out. And so the first time I had to dabble in doing more kind of leadership and consulting in small businesses. That didn't work out so well, so I went back to the corporate world for a while. And when the second buyout happened, I thought, this is the time to truly follow my passion. I want to work with pets. And so I created partners because I didn't have the pet knowledge and expertise. I found a partner that I knew that did have a background in dog training, which I felt important. And I think sometimes we overlook that there is technical knowledge required to take care of pets, and people can learn it. I'm evidence of that. Now it's kind of ironic that I teach people how to read dogs, but that's not the way I started out. The dogs taught me that.
Do you tell people that when you're in your conferences, when you're speaking at large trade shows and conferences, do you talk about your background and how that was one of the motivating factors for you to be the educator you are now, that you came to this being fairly uneducated about dogs, but having that passion and having that business background and that savvy? Does that something, because I think that's so relatable. From where I stand, I just have that just creates a whole new level of respect from me to you, even if I didn't know you personally and didn't really understand the trajectory of your career and development. I just feel like hearing that is just, I think it makes people want to learn from you. So is that something that you do talk about publicly?
Yeah, it comes up when Robin and I speak a lot together because people always want to know how we started working together since we've never lived in the same state or city and, worked at the same place. And how I met Robin was because I was a student of learning everything I could about doggy daycare and heard her speak at a conference about that not only in doggy daycare as providers should we be keeping the dogs physically safe, but we needed to also ensure that emotionally they left our centers as well off, if not better, than when they arrived, and definitely not any worse. And that resonated with me. I can still feel myself sitting in that room. And I didn't know the answer to that question. And so when I went back to my business, I really reflected on that, and that's what led to the book Robin and I wrote together, Off-Leash Dog Play, because I looked for the resources that I needed to train my staff so I could ensure that the dogs were not only physically safe, but emotionally well off. And at the time, there really wasn't anything out there. And so I created my own. And again, that does come from a background in corporate America where if you need a tool and it isn't out there, create it.
So let's talk about Robin for a second, because I think that's a really relevant, I think she's relevant to the conversation in general. And also, she certainly deserves an incredible amount of recognition and love.
Absolutely.
So, I know Robin for many years. In fact, the story with Robin, I know you know this story, but I just feel like I need to share this. And Robin, just for everyone to understand, Robin is, do you call Robin your business partner? Is that how you guys is that how you refer to each other in the world?
Yes, we have a joint venture together, and then we each have companies on our own, which confuses people, but it works very well for us.
And I want to talk about that too, how you approach that personally and professionally when you have a number of different entities, and how because you have really 4 entities, right? I mean, you have, I guess 3 entities, because Dog Gurus, Crystal Canine, and PACCC. Is that pretty much, am I missing anything? I feel like I might be. No, I think I got it, right?
Well, yeah, through the Dog Gurus, we have the professional side and the public side.
Okay, so there are so many different things. So I want to talk about that, because I think that that's going to be something that, number one, I like to talk about because I can relate to that deeply. But I also want to hear how you compartmentalize that and how you manage your life around those things. Mm-hmm. But just, I want to get back to Robin Bennett. So just my own quick thing on Robin. So I met Robin in this very bizarre way. I had a dog training school here in Chicago for many, many years, 11 years, called Animal Sense. And, I was a new dog trainer in 2001. And I was just starting, I had finished school and I was sitting at my business, and I was just leaving the dog walking world and transitioning some of my dog walking clients into my dog training business. And so there was this nice synergy, and it was all lovely, and everyone was happy, and it was great. And I was getting all these clients that knew me for all these years as a good pet care person. And all of a sudden, I get a call from this woman whose name I cannot remember, which kills me. And I have to find her name because it's so important for the story, because I keep telling Robin the same story over and over again. So this woman calls me and says, I'm moving to Chicago. I was living in the D.C. area, and I'm coming to Chicago, and I need to find a dog trainer. And I said, oh, great, we'd love to have you. And she said, yeah, but I don't think you'll be able to take good care of me. I don't think you'll be able to meet the standards that have already been set. And I thought, who is this woman? What are you talking about? So she takes my class and she walks in the door, and I'm very nervous about her coming to class because she didn't really talk about why there were these standards, but I'm a young dog trainer. I'm 31, 32 years old, trying to figure this whole thing out. She walks in and I said, so it's really great to have you here. And she said, yeah, I'm here. There's not a lot of options here in Oak Park. That's a suburb that we had the class. And she said, there are not a lot of options. Now, I've heard okay things about you, so I'm going to give you a try. But I'll tell you what, I just, for the last several years, came out from a class that I've been taking with an amazing trainer in the DC area named Robin Bennett. And she is the best there is. And I know that no matter how good you are, you will never be as good as Robin. And I was so floored. And I will never forget that moment. Just like you said, you can't forget the moment that you were in that room with Robin when she talked about dogs' emotional health. It was that same moment where I'm like, who is this Robin Bennett person? And what is going on? And so I got, so I started doing research, and I found out that, oh my God, it's true. She's like this amazing person who people really do feel that way about, and she has fully deserved it and earned it. So I just think it's funny that I can tie into Robin in that way where I was like, wait a minute. What? Come on. Who is this lady? And now she's your business partner. So now let's talk about that. And I do tell Robin this story, and she does laugh. But it was like it was a moment for me. It was like a real thing where someone told me that I can never be as good as this person that, that clearly did something amazing for her and her dog. Okay. So how do you guys work together? How do you guys manage the business together? What are some of the components to that relationship and that partnership?
Well, we definitely use technology, and it's funny, we wrote our book together. Again, we met maybe once or twice in person when we were both at conferences, but we did it all through, electronic. So we're both very organized, probably borderline OCD in the way we work, but we use Dropbox. We do weekly meetings. We work from agendas, and we plan our year in advance. So this fall, we'll look at 2016 and decide what our priorities are to work on jointly. We have a membership site, so we'll plan out our content topics for all of 2016 this fall. So we're planners and organizers, and then we communicate a lot.
Where does she live? She lives on the East Coast?
Yes, she lives in the D.C. area still.
And you're in Houston. So you guys, how many times a year do you see each other?
Probably half a dozen.
And so how is that? So are you at the place right now, whether it be through your work with Dog Gurus or Crystal Canine, do you consider yourself and do you identify yourself as an entrepreneur?
Yes, I do.
Good for you, lady.
Yeah.
I love that. When did you own that title? When did you feel good about saying I'm an entrepreneur? How long did it take?
Yeah, it's taken a while because I started Crystal Canine in 2010 while I still had Urban Tales to do some consulting because I had been speaking with Rob and had the book, and people were asking me, to do some of that. And so that always felt like something I did on the side. And then Robin and I did the joint venture, the Dog Gurus. And so, that was kind of a partnership deal. But I always knew that there was more I could bring to Crystal Canine and more ways I could serve. And I really have contemplated on that for the last 2 years and can probably say it was last fall that I really stepped into feeling that Crystal Canine is my business as an entrepreneur, and I have a joint venture and do other things that I love with Robin, but that, through Crystal Canine, that's me and how I serve the industry.
So we're going to go to break in a few minutes, but before we do that, I want to have you just provide some of the website information so folks who are listening who are either on tablets or computers can go ahead and look that up during our conversation, but also as a resource for later. So why don't you go ahead and give out all the data around that? Okay.
Well, Crystal Canine is www.crystalcanine.com, and canine is spelled out CANINE.com. And then the work Robin and I do together as the Dog Gurus, that website is the THEDogGurus.com. And you can, on that site, see some information on selecting dog daycare and then also link to the Pet Professional site where we have the membership. And then we haven't talked about it yet, but we will, I know, talk about Professional Animal Care Certification. And that website is P as in Paul, AC, CERT.org.
And that's the thing that I'm so excited to talk about after the break. We're going to dive way deep into that and what that is. And again, how you've evolved with that and how you've created that and kind of all the things that you've had to go through to get that where it is today and where it's going. I'm glad we got some of this great background information and really I think we got some good clarity around Dog Gurus and Crystal Canine and the websites. I mean, the websites are pretty self-explanatory. So when you guys go and you check out both of those sites, you'll get a good sense of how that compartmentalizing that I keep talking about, how that looks physically for Susan. And can you all imagine listen, at the end of this interview, at the end of the show, you're all going to look in the mirror and go, what's wrong with me? I know every time I see Susan or talk to Susan, I'm like, really? This woman is amazing. She's just able to do, I'm going to say this and then we'll go to break. And honestly, I feel this way and I'll say it publicly. I feel like you are the person, and the reason I admire you so much, one of the reasons is because when you have an idea, you make it happen. When you put your mind to something, you do it, and you do it successfully, and you do it meaningfully, and you change people's lives. And there's a saying, something to the effect of a lot of brilliant people have a lot of brilliant ideas, and brilliance is not what brings things forward. It's about persistence and perseverance, and it's about doing. And I think that you truly embody all of those things. So, thanks for taking time out of your really busy schedule to spend time with us today, because I feel like your messages are so vitally important to anybody looking to make a change or just think about what it would be to follow passion. So on that note, we're going to go to break, Susan. We'll be right back. I'm Jamie Migdal. I'm your host, Pets Mean Business on Pet Life Radio Network. We'll see you in a minute.
It's designerpetsweaters.com. Hand-knitted designer sweaters for your precious pup or cool cat. Beautiful couture patterns for your pets, including custom-knitted formal wear, casual wear, yachting, and even sports-themed. Many designer pet sweaters include feathered tammy hats, top hats, and a lot of sparkle. Each sweater includes leg loops, front paw sleeves, and leash opening. Visit designerpetsweaters.com to order your four-legged fashions today. Your pets will stay warm for the winter and be runway ready. Large or small, we fit them all. designerpetsweaters.com.
Amazing Pet Expos is coming to a city near you. Admission is always free, and your pet is welcome. Shopping, adoptions, free nail trims, discounted shots and microchipping, agility, a pet costume contest, and much more. Plus, meet the guys from Animal Planet's hit TV series Tank and Pit Boss. Online at AmazingPetExpos.com.
Bring your pets to the Pet Expo.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
We're back from break. Susan and I were Susan, you're so nice. You said that the things that I was saying before made her cry. Well, almost cry. Probably not totally cry. But you know what, though? It's always good in this public forum to be able to, especially because I do have incredible guests, people who, some of them I've known for a long time, some I'm just meeting and hearing their story, but I'm always moved. I'm always impressed. I'm always, you were just saying something. I feel the same way. I am every single day totally honored by the people that I look around and see in my world. And you were just saying the same thing, that you look around and you see all of these people in your world. And that's just really the thing that's the thing, right? That's the thing. It is a people world. I think a lot of people get into the pet industry, and I know you've heard this 1 million times. I think collectively we've heard it 2 million times, which is people get into the pet industry because I don't like people. I want to work with pets. And what do we know more than anything, Susan? That this is a people industry.
Yeah.
This is a people industry. Pets are there and they're great, and we have to do lots of things to take care of them. And that's obviously what we spend our kind of designing mind around. But the reality is that this is all about a high touch people industry, whether you're working in a retail environment, service environment, rescue, especially rescue. And I think a lot of the rescue folks have a hard time getting their brain wrapped around that. It's really important to be great to people. Because people, people are connected to pets, and we need them to be, and that's how pets can continue to have great lives through their people. So in talking about that, that's a natural progression. That's a natural foray into this concept that you have created. let's talk about PACC, which stands for Professional Animal Care Certification Council. And we know that the industry has been, as it's grown, there's been a lot of damage done to the industry. The reputation of the animal care, in particular, so the stuff that when people are touching animals, the reputation of the animal care industry has been significantly damaged at times by frequent news reports of serious pet accidents, some of them deaths. And then, of course, with the rapid growth of the industry coupled with the ease of entry into the industry, it makes it a confusing challenge, I think, for most pet parents to find out who are truly high-quality providers. And that is obviously at the end of the day, I mean, for me as an entrepreneur and as a pet professional, that to me is the most important thing. And as you know, I have a business called Fetch Find that we are all around that idea of helping pet businesses to find great staff who aren't in it just to pet puppies, but they're in it for all the other right reasons. And my understanding of and my experience at this point with PACC, it's based on those same things. So let's talk about, how do you define PACC? So if someone said, hey, Susan, I saw this thing PACC, what is it? What's going on? You're doing testing? What are you doing? So how do you answer that question in a kind of an elevator speech kind of way? How do you answer to that?
Well, to me, PACC is going to help the pet service industry, specifically boarding, doggy daycare, dog walkers, pet sitters, be seen as a true profession, because we will have standards of care. There will be professional testing and licensing so that the people that have been investing in the knowledge and making sure they understand the technical aspects to taking care of pets professionally have that recognition, and that it'll be easy for the public to know.
How did you
certified provider?
How did you come to that realization? Because I mean, I think internally we're all having those conversations, especially those of us who have been in the industry for a long time. We're all having those conversations around the dinner table or on Facebook groups or at conferences. But how did you actually come to the realization publicly that this needed to be addressed?
Again, this is looking back. Everything I've done since being in pets helped me understand it. Trying to market my own business and knowing what we invested as far as the knowledge, to the point we even I wrote a book and created my own training program for my staff. That wasn't something that pet parents were focused on when they came to visit. I was shocked how many pet parents would call, make a reservation, drop their dog off, never ask me about my background, what education I did for myself, for my staff members, even want to look at how my center was set up and designed to keep pets safe. And then working with centers for, years that were investing in training and doing things right, and hearing from them, again, it's hard to differentiate yourself in the market so that the public understands, and trying to explain it just to friends. It's too complicated. There's too much. There's too much behind the scenes to expect your average pet owner to be able to understand that professional care does make a difference. So we wanted to make it easy, and certification seemed to be the route to do that. That's what other professions do. You have certified, I was a CPA, and I had to take an exam to prove that I had that knowledge. So it just seemed to be the way. And it's funny, when Robin and I speak, last year it seemed like every time we'd speak, we would be asked the question, when is certification coming? Are you guys going to do certification related to this? And we would just look at each other and go, that keeps coming up, but somebody else needs to do it. We're busy. We don't have time. We're not the right people to do this. But we agree it would be great. It's what the industry needs. And I think, Jamie, you and I have talked, when I get repeated messages, I pay attention to that. When things repeat to me, it's a message that pay a little more attention here. There may be an opportunity.
Well, and that's, I think, again, part of your whole professional development and trajectory. You do listening on two levels, which is listening to yourself and your own, your gut, your instinct. You're following that fire inside of you, but you also do a lot of outside listening. And to me, that makes the strongest. First of all, it's a great human quality. It's a great way to just be in this world. But on the business side, I think that being able to do both of those things and do it well and have some synchronicity between those two things is really where success starts to come into the picture. And you've done that, and clearly you've done that over and over and over again, and keep on creating things that have such incredible value to everybody that you touch. I think it's interesting. I hear this all the time, and I think, even as a pet care provider in my previous businesses, I always heard people assume. I think that's where we're at, right? In this industry, in this day and age, if you're a pet owner and you're looking for a new groomer or a new daycare or what have you, dog walker, you just assume that there's got to be some sort of like license, right? Hairdressers have them. Right? Nail technicians have them. If I want to go in and get a $12 manicure, I know that those folks have had to go through some sort of schooling, and there's some, there's a thing on the wall that says, licensed by the state of whomever. And so the assumption for pet owners is that, of course, if you're a groomer, I mean, we know that veterinarians are, of course, licensed, but if you're a groomer, of course you are. Probably if you're a dog trainer, I guess if you're a dog daycare owner, maybe if you're a dog walker. And you start to see people process through this, but when people learn that to be a groomer, and by the way, I love groomers, so this is not at all a hit on groomers. When people learn that to be a dog groomer is nothing other than on-the-job training, if that, they are amazed. They're amazed that there's not they just assume. They just assume that groomers have gone through some, curriculum and had in some sort of state or federal licensing, and it's just not the case. And I guess one of the things that I always think about when it comes to PACC, what do you think it's going to do when you have folks who are really good at their job? So let's just call groomers. Talk about groomers. A really good groomer who really has never done anything other than on-the-job training, and they're a really good groomer. They're really good people. They're really just, everything is good, but they're just not school people. They just don't have the time or the bandwidth or the drive to go and get certified through PACC. What's going to be our answer for them? Or is it just, this is just the way it is? What happens at that moment?
Well, our goal is that the public will drive them to do it. A lot of our focus is education to the public that they need to find a certified provider. That's the only way to ensure that they have that technical knowledge and skill set to safely take care of pets. So we really hope the pressure on the public, as well as pride of being a professional and having that certification that's available internally, they'll be driven to go ahead.
So this is a whole other wave, I think, that the pet industry is going to experience. I mean, I'm kind of stating the obvious and preaching to the choir, so to speak. But, pet industry over the last 2 decades it's gone through, we've seen waves, right? We've seen it went from, think of kenneling, right? You go to a vacation. Yeah, you go to the vacation, you drop your dog off at a kennel, and you pay, maybe $15 a day on the high end. And you drop off a bag of food and your dog and, their choke chain and their leash, and you go and you come back, you pick your dog up, and that's just the end of the day. I mean, think about that and where daycares are now with our spas and airport-based facilities and all of the things. So, I mean, there has been a natural, and I think a fairly quick transition from, some of that kind of, how would you put this? Kind of not thinking, it was not lower level.
Basic care.
Basic,
on a physical level.
Thank you.
And that's when I opened my center, was in 2000, when that initial transition to what I would say the pet resort and the whole engagement, and not only are we keeping the pets physically safe, we're connecting with them emotionally and engaging them mentally and having fun, just like if you sent your kid to camp.
Right. And I think that when that first happened too, and correct me if I'm wrong, if this was a different example, if this was your experience or not, I think it was, that when that first started happening, when that shift started happening, pet parents were like, wait a minute, what, a spa? Come on now. Dog beds? Come on now. And now, right now, you wouldn't even think about sending your dog to a daycare if it didn't have some of those qualities and some of those nuances. I mean, you wouldn't even consider sending your dog to a kennel. Daycare is like the very minimum of what you'd expect. And then so I think, and I hope you do, I think you do, that we're going to see that same thing, we're going to follow through where right now people think of certification as wouldn't it be nice or didn't know it existed or something of this nature, where hopefully in, I don't know, what do we think, 5 to 8 years that it becomes just as well accepted and recognized as a nicer doggy daycare versus a kennel.
Right. Yes, absolutely. We have to for the pet's safety. And as we were talking at break, that's what I'm so excited about with PACC, is that there's so many professionals from across the pet industry that have joined us to help make that happen. And I believe that's where we have our shared passion, that we have to drive it to where that is for the safety of the pets. Continue with the unregulated industry that exists today.
I couldn't agree with you more. You know, you and I I'm so deeply connected with you on that, with that philosophy and that mindset of this pet industry. It's wonderful, and it's given us all so much, and we've been so lucky to get in it on the ground floor, because it is the ground floor. It's $60 billion is the ground floor, period. But it is time to start looking at the next era and looking at changes that need to be made, because you know what the reality is, and as horrible as it is to say, a lot of people who take care of pets don't know what they're doing. And pets really suffer, and I do believe that the suffering leads to euthanasia. I mean, I think that, you know, pet providers create behavior problems, and those behavior problems are not something that people can live with, and it ends up that people have to give their dogs away or worse. And I mean, I know it's incredibly dramatic to get to that point of talking about, you know, a non-certified or an uncertified provider, bringing that all the way to something as dramatic as euthanasia. But that's also the reality of the world. That is just the truth. If people don't understand what dogs are and what they need and who they are, you know, they suffer at the end. And I think the whole point of PACC is to minimize suffering and maximize the excellence. And you're doing that. And so how can people get involved? What are some things that if someone's listening right now who says, well, that's interesting, certification, I get that. I'm a certified XYZ. I would want my provider to be certified. What can I do to help? What can they do?
Well, they can definitely go to the website, paccert.org, and sign up for our mailing list.
Okay.
We will be sending out updates. Most importantly, we want you to stay informed of what's happening and share the message with all the pet owners that you know that certification is coming to the industry, and to select a certified provider. As a dog trainer, they can do that now, but we want, starting in 2016, to do that for their kennel, their doggy daycare, their pet sitter, their dog walker also.
Okay. You'll hear my dinging in the background. You know what that's telling us to do? It's time to end our conversation, which I hate because I'm loving this conversation. And I think we're about to, if we were able to, we would probably spend the next 2 hours talking about examples and why and how PACC is so necessary and how people can get involved. And I think it's also important to acknowledge that I am involved with PACC. I am on the marketing committee because I do find that, you know, maybe one of the things that I can lend to the cause is spreading the word throughout the people that I know and working with all the fetch find folks and businesses, etc. So I fully get it, and I am fully in support of PACC, and publicly, professionally, privately, what have you, and I'm here to continue to see this through with you and with the great community of people you've put together. So you guys, this is the thing. You may be hearing about PACC right now for the very first time, and in fact, probably most of you are. Let me tell you, it's happening and it's real, and we are so lucky to have Susan here talking about it with us because she is the mind behind this happening and this coming to life. So Susan, I am, again, indebted to you professionally and grateful for the work that you've done and the vision that you've had and how you have created so many opportunities for so many people, and we'll continue to do that. And, well, I think on that note, we will bid each other a farewell, but only shortly because I think I'm going to see you at a conference coming up here pretty soon. I think I'll see you, right? I'm going to see you at IBPSA.
Yes, I look forward to it. And thank you, Jamie, for having me today.
It's my pleasure. I loved being with you here. I loved having you talk about your story and your message and all the things that you're working on. And you guys will have Susan's information up on the website. And if you have any questions or you want to meet Susan, please let me know. I can happily hook you up. Susan is open to talking to people and helping. And, well, you can hear that. So on that note, I'm Jamie Migdal. I'm your host on Pets Mean Business here on Pet Life Radio Network. You've just listened to episode 18 with my dear friend, Susan Briggs. We'll see you next time.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.